concentration. So here we have working memory, and you'll see it says the ability to hold information and awareness. I very quickly switched to talking about with clients to say to them, do you remember being in class and the teacher wrote a very long explanation on the board and you were busy copying it and you were halfway through when all of a sudden that teacher decided to erase the board and you lost all that information? Okay? If you lost the information that was there, that was a bit of a problem because then you wouldn't be able to think about that information. So that begins to introduce us to what working memory is, that we have a mental chalkboard in our mind where we need to hold information for a period of time so that we can look at it and think about it and analyze it and connect the dots about it. If that information were to suddenly disappear from that chalkboard, you'd have nothing there to examine. And so people understand that analogy, and I just want to internalize it a little bit more. So I begin to talk about refrigerator magnets, because if your experience with refrigerator magnets is like mine, they're pretty weak. And you can put up one piece of paper and it will hold it pretty well, but you put up a postcard, and what happens? That postcard immediately drops to the floor. Somehow for me, that analogy speaks to the rapidity with which something can drop out of awareness and you no longer have it. So I do want to stop for a moment and say these analogies are not perfect. Some of them may work for you better than others. You can offer it to your client, and if they find a better analogy, that's absolutely fine. But in the meantime, I'm using the analogy of refrigerator magnets because sometimes they work and sometimes they don't. There's a second aspect of working memory, which is that they don't fully understand what the process is by any means, but when we have information that's in short-term memory, it's working memory that does the processing that brings it into long-term memory, which is essential for many things. So it's the process that takes something from short-term to long-term, and on the other hand, brings it back out again. So I've given you the picture of a bridge that has two-way traffic, and we can talk about, is there a ready flow to the other side of the bridge, or are there obstacles that are blocking the information flow from getting all the way into long-term memory, and are there problems getting it out of long-term memory in time when you actually need to use it? So we've taken a complicated and very important executive function, and very quickly you have a way of communicating about it with your client.